Episode 43 of the Geekdom101 podcast. Original air date was August 27th, 2020. And if you remember a few seasons ago, I think season 1 of the show, I did a review of the 1990 TMNT movie, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Well, this is the follow-up as we now review the sequel to that movie, TMNT 2, The Secret of Ooze. We talk about Go Ninja Go, of course, the song that still resonates in many Turtles fans' heads from that era, the fallout from the film, the pandering to kids, and kind of the change in creative direction with this film going into the third film, and a lot more. It was a very deep podcast on this movie, the pros and the cons. And the next episode after this one was about Turtles 3. But for now, let's go ahead and get to Turtles 2 on the Geekdom101 podcast, episode 43. So 30 years ago, the 1990 TMNT live-action film was in theaters, and yeah, it is a classic. Now, like I said in the intro, we already covered this film in the past with Hail Zeon, but I figure let's talk about the sequels, the direct sequels, which is going to be Turtles 2, The Secret of the Ooze, and Turtles 3 coming up next week. But first, let's talk about Secret of the Ooze. So joining me, please welcome back to the Geekdom101 podcast, huge Turtle maniac, it's Hail Zeon. Hello, my love. How are you?
I'm doing fine. Yeah, no, it's been quite a while since we did that TMNT first movie podcast, but yeah, no, I'm always down to talk Turtles, obviously. God, yeah, no, it's been a really long time. Wasn't that like 2 years ago?
It was like 2 years ago, but remember, we did get together to do the Last Jedi one for your channel, and then we did the we did the Rise of Skywalker one for my channel, which is the story behind that one was wacky because so you and I recorded the Rise of Skywalker thing, and then I fucked up and I uploaded it to World of Geekdom. It was already it was a scheduled upload. And I fucked up because I forgot to put I uploaded the wrong audio. I uploaded the audio with just me and not you.
I forgot about that. Yeah, that was totally a fucking thing that happened.
Oh, it was. And then, I'm in Japan, right? I'm actually in Japan when it went up, so I couldn't even fix it. Normally, I would just be at home. I'd take the video down, fix it, re-upload it. But because I was in Japan, I had to wait a week to fix it. But it's up now, and, we had a good discussion. Did you ever get around to reading that script from Colin Trevorrow, the episode 9?
I've read excerpts from it. I have not actually had a chance to just sit down with the full thing and just read the entirety of it.
Well, I'll tell you this. Star Wars Theory, who's a buddy of mine, is planning on doing I don't know if he's going to be able to do it, but he's going to try and get an animated, he wants to do certain scenes from the film, but he wants them to be cartoony animated, so I feel like he's going to do that. I would love it. Me
That'd
personally.
Be pretty dope.
Yeah, I agree. I would.
Also, this is a great start to our Ninja Turtles podcast of. Yeah, the Rise of Skywalker, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, fuck modern Star Wars. But we'll get to it in a minute.
I'm with you now.
We're both on the same page there. But here's the thing. So what I would love, and they're not going to do this, is if they were able to sort of adapt the Duel of the Fates script into an animated live-action film. They don't have to do, get Daisy Ridley and Adam Driver. Maybe to do the voices. I mean, I don't know if you've been following this, but John Boyega, who plays Finn, he's done.
Yeah.
Oh,
no, he is so fucking done with this fandom. And I don't blame him, honestly. The fandom did so fucking shit to him since the very beginning.
Right.
I can totally see why he'd just be like, you know what, fuck you, fuck your goddamn stupid kitty franchise, I'm gonna go do other shit.
And he's done with Disney, too. He says, I'm done with that shit. So, it's just funny how things work out. But anyways, let's talk about Turtles, okay? So, the original TMNT, it's your favorite film of all time. I feel like, because of the MCU, I feel like classic comic book adaptations, not just the Turtles 90, but also The Crow, these movies that came, or even the first Blade,
I actually rewatched The Crow recently with my girlfriend.
Did you cry? Because it's very emotional.
I didn't cry, but she really enjoyed it because I was just like, wait, you're a goth girl who lived through the 90s and you never watched The fucking Crow?
Oh.
She's like, stop judging me. So then I made her ass sit down and watch The Crow. She really liked it. No, The Crow's a great fucking movie.
Right, but I feel like those movies don't, like, people forget about them because everyone's like Iron Man, Endgame, but like Turtles and The Crow and Blade, like pre MCU, we still had a nice little collection of comic book movies. There weren't as many, but we had them, and I think TMNT 90 is a very faithful adaptation.
Yeah, I feel like when it comes to older comic book movies, like people remember like Superman, they
and
remember Spider-Man, like
the
the
X-Men.
Sam Raimi Spider-Man, like the early X-Men, the first two X-Men movies. They'll think of like the Tim Burton Batman movies.
Right.
They'll think of Blade. Blade is still has like quite a fandom, but I feel like
Blade's awesome.
Like the 1990 TMNT film just gets completely lost in the conversation. It was this kitschy little novelty from like 1990 before we really knew how to make comic book movies, and like it's just kind of campy and silly and like it's kid fare, and it's like no, like literally everything that people say about the first Ninja Turtle movie is what the second Ninja Turtle movie is. Like
we're gonna talk about that because this film.
Yes.
Turtles 2. Okay, first of all, let's go back to when we were kids. I was very hyped up for this. I remember when the trailer came out and you see the hands of the mutants and we're all like, Bebop and Rocksteady! Bebop and Rocksteady! And it wasn't
no, I was there too. I remember
It was not Bebop and Rocksteady. We got shafted.
Nope.
Now, let me ask you a question about that. I read somewhere that the reason why they didn't have Bebop and Rocksteady is because they were characters that were part of the animated like licensing, and they couldn't license it because it wasn't adapted from the comic. It was something with like the rights, how they belonged to the animated TV show, not to the comic, because back then they weren't in the comics. So
okay,
does that make sense?
I actually do know the story behind this one.
Please, that's why you're here. Tell me the story behind it.
The actual from interviews with Eastman and Laird, they specifically did not want Bebop and Rocksteady in the movie. Those weren't their creations. They didn't it's like that's what the cartoon was. They didn't want the movies to fall too much into what the cartoons were. They wanted it to be more like the comic books. And there's like a lot of stuff like when we talk about the end of this movie, there's some great stuff that like was originally planned for the ending of this movie that got completely fucking scrapped.
They were going to lead into the third film, and then it just got scrapped. But
not only that, like they were going to do the Umtrons, like the fucking alien race. Like that was supposed to be like the big plot twist ending of that movie. And once you get Umtrons, like you eventually are going to get fucking Triceratons, and like that would have been a dope ass fucking third movie if we just had a big sci-fi epic Ninja Turtle movie. But no, we don't get that. We don't get any of that. We got
time travel.
we got a
shitty
fucking time travel movie.
We'll talk about that one next week. But I wanted to ask you about Secret of Ooze. So I was hyped up for this film. It was Toka and Razor. Now you mentioned Eastman and Laird. Were Toka and Razor Eastman and Laird creations? I'm assuming not.
No, they were original to the movie, but they just very specifically, the studio wanted mutants. They wanted to have like the mutants versus mutants thing going on, and the studio was originally like Bebop and Rocksteady. Obviously, that's what you do. And like Eastman and Laird like really dug their heels in on that and were like, no, you're not doing Bebop and Rocksteady. Like because at this point like they kind of had an issue with the cartoon, like because like once they saw what the cartoon was and what it was going to be, they were like, okay, you know what, this is just a thing that is branded Ninja Turtles. This is our Ninja Turtles. We like basically they had an issue, if I understand it correctly, with the fact that like the cartoon had become so much a part of like the cultural zeitgeist at the time that like people
that's
just
what
didn't
happens
know.
Though.
People didn't know what the fuck the comic books were, or some people didn't even know that there were comic books or any of that shit. So when it came to the movie, they were like, no Bebop and Rocksteady. Like the first movie was already so ingrained in the comic books that they were like, no Bebop and Rocksteady. And I can understand that. Like, you know, they don't want their property being overtaken by like this weird kiddie spin-off, which doesn't really matter because this movie still ended up being a kid film. Like a very kiddie film, especially in comparison to the first film.
Yeah, the first film is dark, and first film has an actual story. A lot of it was based on the old TMNT comic. First film had profanity. It was really, I mean, I think it's still ultimately a kids movie, but it's more of like an edgy, like, you know.
Yeah, no, like
Yeah.
it was a movie for kids, like that kids could enjoy, but it was designed to be a bit more grounded. It was like the idea of like
Adults could enjoy it.
making these fantastical characters feel real while also still kind of keeping this kind of comical, surreal element to them. And I thought it was a really nice balance. Like I've heard people say that like they're kind of off put by like the more silly slapsticky moments of the original movie, like the juxtaposition between like the more grounded gritty stuff and the comedic elements are off-putting.
I thought it was fine.
I think it blends them very well. This movie I feel just leans so hard, like from the very opening scene of this movie,
Right. Secret of the
you
Ooze,
get
yeah.
like you get like the tonal change is so harsh because it's like the first movie opens gritty shots of a city, April O'Neil narrating about like the Foot Clan and like this crime wave and all this shit that's going on, and like a dude gets pickpocketed and you're seeing like
The
all
lady
this
loses her
shady
TV.
shit. Yeah, like there's all these different things like showing you just kind of like the grounded but still kind of surreal world that we're existing in. And then this movie goes full on fucking cartoon where like the city doesn't look anywhere near as grimy. Everything's more brightly lit. Like everyone's eating pizza. It's all this cartoony bullshit.
But that pizza did look really good. That
No, the pizza looks fucking amazing.
Oh my God.
I'm saying though that like despite that, like despite all of that, the like it's a huge tonal change from the first movie, and then you have Kino, who's like our new eye level character
Reyes,
for this movie, because
who was in the first movie. He was in one of the turtle suits.
yeah. He was the stuntman for Donatello.
Right.
So yeah, like you have like Ernie Reyes Jr. I think as
No
Kino.
Casey Jones.
Yeah, no Casey Jones.
April was
Such
recast.
bullshit. Yeah, like there's so much going on in this movie because like before I jump into all that bullshit, like the very beginning of this movie though, like you get the huge tonal change. The music is poppier, even though it's the same composer and it's like a mix of like the same Ninja Turtle theme from the first movie.
But it's got like more of an upbeat.
It has a bit more energy. Yeah, so it's a way more up-tempo version of what was in the first movie. And then you get like the Ninja Turtles themselves, and even though it's the Jim Henson Creature Shop, they look a little bit more Muppety than they did in the first movie. Like the textures weren't as detailed and wasn't as realistic looking.
Yeah, I feel
and
like
even
in the
like their
first
facial
movie,
expressions were more exaggerated.
No, I completely agree. I feel like in the first movie, when you see that shot of them in the sewer at the beginning, you know, when they're like the turtle suits are so incredible because they look like they're sweaty. Like they were able to incorporate some kind of liquid to make the turtles look like they're swampy and sweaty. But in this film, you never see that. And the third movie, that's when it really falls apart. But we do have to give credit to Jim Henson's Creature Shop. Jim Henson died about a year before this movie came out. And Jim Henson's Creature Shop did do a great job with this film, especially with Toka and Razor, because they do look real. Like Toka and Razor, even to this day, I feel like the suits look good. I mean, again, maybe it would have been better if they had like the Turtles 1 aesthetic, but I think it still looks good.
Yeah, like it is just such a like the movie is such an immediate disappointment. Like I said, the first movie is my absolute favorite movie, and as a kid, I loved Ninja Turtles too. Going back to it as an adult, though, I was just like, oh no, because like the opening fight scene, just going back to that whole thing of that juxtaposition between the first movie and the sequel,
it's
and,
all
like,
slapstick.
The tonal shift. Like they don't pull their weapons out, except for like Leo pulls his swords out for a moment to put him into the ceiling to kick a guy in the head for some reason. Like Michelangelo, instead of pulling out his nunchucks, pulls out like sausage links.
Yeah, well, there was a yo-yo, I think, there.
Yeah,
right?
like it's very more Jackie Chan-ish in its comedic like combat fighting style stuff, and like none of that's necessarily bad, But when you're a direct sequel to the first movie, and you've dumbed down the action to that extent, it's a disappointment, because like I appreciate what the first movie was and what it was going for and what they accomplished. And this one just felt like this really quick cash-in sequel where it's just like, okay, make it more kid-friendly because the soccer moms are upset about the first movie. Make it more brightly lit. Make the music a bit poppier. Make the Shredder less scary. Make the turtles a little less slimy and a little bit more marketable looking.
And don't forget, make the villains, including Shredder, a lot more... Like, the Shredder in this film...
Babies! They're babies!
Yeah. And not just that, like, you know, the Shredder in this movie comes off a lot more like the James Avery sort of... You know, the comedic side of
like they kind of really
Shredder.
Split the difference between like what he was in the first movie. And
he's not
like,
even menacing. Yeah. In the first movie, he whooped all their ass by himself. He was this scary motherfucker. And in this movie, he's like a clown, except for Kevin Nash at the end, which we're going to get to in a minute, which is also kind of stupid. But I wanted to tell you that I remember hearing, even as a kid, because I still had the tape, the making of Turtles 1 and 2. They don't even use their weapons in this movie. Now, I remember reading that the reason for that's because they felt like the weapons were too violent and could influence children to do bad things.
Yeah.
But as a kid, now remember, I'm a little kid. As a kid, and I'm not an idiot. I'm over here looking at this and I'm like, okay, what is going to be easier for a kid to get a hold of? A yo-yo or a katana blade? I feel like giving the turtles practical weapons is actually worse. Because kids can look at the yo-yo and then say, okay, I'm going to crack my brother in the head with like fucking Leonardo did or whatever. Like, I think it's easier
you're
to...
right.
Yeah, instead of a fucking sai. Like,
is, though,
how many kids have sais in their house? You know what I mean?
But the thing is, though, like, where the difference comes in, I think, for a lot of these parents groups is that, like you have the weapons, and these things are things that are designed to kill people. And then it's just like, okay, well, now the turtles are fighting with these other things that aren't actually weapons. And they don't understand that, like, kids are going to see that and be more influenced to, like, whack each other in the head with fucking yo-yos and sausage links than they are to actually find a fucking sword and use it on one another. It's dumb bullshit. Like, I definitely fucking, like, as a kid, I didn't even notice, honestly. Like the difference in, like, how they fight with their weapons. Because,
you were into the turtles. I mean, you
I was
just wanted more turtles.
I was a fucking child.
Right.
I was a fucking child. And, like Donnie pulls out his bow staff once to, like, hit the foot soldiers in the head. And
that's like the only time.
Yeah, and then, like, Leo pulls out his swords. I don't think Raph pulls his sais out, and I don't think Michelangelo pulls his nunchucks out at any point.
Right.
But yeah, no,
it's homogenized. You know what it is?
Thanks, soccer moms.
You know what it reminds me of? This is kind of like the situation where, let's say you're into like a band, like you're really into this band, whatever, pick a band, Linkin Park, whatever. I'm just picking one randomly. And like they're really into the underground, and then they get a mainstream, breakout album. So you're happy, you're like, okay, this is my shit. Now these guys are getting paid. Now the whole world can listen to how great this is. And then with their next album, they get so much influence from the studio and from producers and from Billboard that they change their sound to sound more poppy. Like, so I don't want to say the Turtles sold out, but dude, Secret of the Ooze has fucking Vanilla Ice in it. This movie is a sellout film. Dude, it's a sellout film. I'm sorry. And here's the thing.
It is.
Here's the thing about my opinion about this movie. I'm like you. Liked it as a kid. Then I hated it. Now, I don't hate it anymore. There are some things in this movie that are really, really funny and that really entertain me.
It is.
And I'll be honest, like, it's so wacky. Like, this movie, it's not quite Batman and Robin. But if you view this film as being more comedic than serious, it is a passable movie in my opinion. Nowhere near as good as the first one, but I think it's way more passable if you look at it from that perspective.
Here's my take on those two movies. Like, Ninja Turtles 2 is a good kids movie. Ninja Turtles, like the first movie, is a good movie.
I agree.
Like Ninja Turtles, the first Ninja Turtle movie is a legitimately good fucking movie that I will just die on that fucking hill for. Because I can sit there and defend that shit for hours. The sequel, it's fine. It's serviceable. It's cute, and it's got some funny moments, and it's fine. Like, it's harmless. Like, it's when we start getting into Ninja Turtles 3 territories where I start getting upset. And, like, I'm not even opposed to, like, my Ninja Turtles being super silly and campy. Like, I am an adamant defender of Ninja Turtles The Next Mutation. I don't mind.
You are.
I don't mind camp, but, like, it has to be well-executed camp. You have to really commit to it. And I feel like Ninja Turtles 2 actually does it commits to its tone. It had a tone, and it commits to it. Like, they decided we're going to be more kid-friendly, the action sequences are going to be a bit sillier, and a bit more slapsticky, and it works. It still works. It doesn't have the emotional weight or atmosphere that the first film does, but it most certainly still works as a film. And I do still enjoy it. Like, it's a fine 7 or 6 out of 10. Like, it's a perfectly serviceable, entertaining movie.
Yeah, and it's Turtles. And at the end of the day, it's characters that we love, and they're being wacky, but it's all right. Now, I wanted to talk a little bit about Ernie Reyes, but first I wanted to ask you, with Vanilla Ice being in this film, okay, like I said, you and I are the exact same age, so presumably we grew up, we knew who Vanilla Ice was back then. I mean,
most certainly.
MC Hammer and Vanilla Ice were like the two big pop rappers of the era. Like, do you think that having Vanilla Ice in this film dates the movie? You know, like, or like, if kids watch it now, like, are they gonna not? I mean, they're not gonna have a clue Vanilla Ice.
Okay, kids aren't gonna know that he's Vanilla Ice,
right?
But like, I don't think it. Like, the movie is so goddamn 90s.
Yeah.
Like the first movie didn't necessarily feel like 90s or 80s. Like, I feel like the first movie just felt like this grounded kind of city movie. Like there wasn't like a whole bunch of 90s pop cultural stuff going on in it. Where Ninja Turtles 2 really leans into just the aesthetic and energy of 90s entertainment from the time. It feels way more dated.
Yeah, I agree with that. I agree with you completely. And, you know, some of the references, you know, I mean, don't even get me started on 3. 3 is even worse. So let me ask you a question. What happened to Paige Turco? I'm sorry, what happened to Judith Hogue? I know Paige Turco came in to do April, and she's okay, but Judith Hogue...
She is not. She sucks. She's not a good actress.
I mean, she's better now, because now, I don't know if you know, but now she does, like, other shows, like, she did, like shows like All My Children. She got better, but Judith Hogue, to me, was the real... Okay,
that's good to know. I just know that Paige Turco in Ninja Turtles 2 and 3 is a substantially worse actress than Judith Hogue. Well, I'm just going to toss that one out there.
Right, but what I'm saying, what happened to Judith Hogue? What's the story behind that? Why did she not come back?
Once again, from what I've heard in interviews, and this wasn't even an interview, this was like something I read online from an interview she supposedly had, so, you know, good luck citing that source. But it was basically she stepped off of the TMNT stuff because of, like, the backlash about the violence in the movie. She's like, yeah, no, this movie isn't good for kids. And she kind of soccer mommed her way out of that fucking franchise, which kind of sucks because, like, I don't think you realize, like, how big of a deal, like, the violence in that movie was, even though the movie isn't really that violent. I mean, we fucking marketed goddamn RoboCop to children, and for some reason, Ninja Turtles...
significantly worse.
Yeah, no, definitely. And
RoboCop's one of the most violent films I've ever seen.
Yeah, no, most definitely. That's another movie I recently rewatched, and it still
holds up. And it still holds up.
Fucking amazing.
That's a legit masterpiece, dude.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, most definitely. Honestly, I would say RoboCop is more poignant now than it was when it was fucking made.
With the corporate fucking subtext and shit?
Like the giant corporations, the overreach, the privatization of police, all that shit. Like, all the fucking commentary in that goddamn movie feels so much more poignant now than it did back then.
Dude, now, you know what? Now I want to rewatch it. I rewatched it about 4 years ago, at a party, and I want to watch it again. But yeah,
no, most definitely. Like I'll if you want to do a podcast on RoboCop, I'll totally do a podcast on RoboCop.
Okay, maybe we should do that then. We should. Actually, I was going to tell you. I was going to tell you later, but when we get done with these TMNT 2 and 3, later on, maybe in a few months, I wouldn't mind it if you came back to do TMNT, the '07 one, and then Turtles Forever, because I watched those with you first. I had never seen them before.
Oh, yeah. I was actually thinking about that, too, because, like, honestly, I would totally rewatch them and talk to you about them. Obviously, I really love both of those movies, which is why I had you watch them. And
yes,
honestly,
and
if you want...
I did not regret it. I did not regret it. Mm-hmm.
And I was going to say, like, hell, man, if you want, like, I'll fucking do, like, the goddamn Michael Bay movies.
Well, actually, yes, I did want you to come back for that as well. With Josie, I'm doing... Josie did... the season 1 of Turtles, the animated series. So I got you and Josie are like my two trans turtle fucking people,
gurus that you come to.
Right. So I want to actually bring Josie back to do season 2, because that's when they have like the crystal, like that. What's that storyline with the crystals from space and shit?
Oh yeah, that alien fucking crystal subplot that like they just kind of didn't they wrap that up like mid-season, and the rest of season 2 was just whatever the fuck.
Something like that, but at least they had a continuity.
Yeah, no, like that was the last time they tried to have continuity. It's really funny if you read the Archie comics. They started adapting like the season 2 Crystal storyline and literally drop it off to just start doing their own original stories. So in the comics, that storyline is incomplete.
Oh, I hate that. It's like WWE booking. Like, nothing ever gets completed. So, okay, about Turtles 2, I wanted to ask you, or I wanted to tell you. So, to me, right, the one thing about this movie that I actually really did enjoy is the character of Keno, and I'm going to tell you why. Ernie Reyes Jr. has a lot of charisma, but there are certain scenes in this movie that have me busting out laughing, especially when you watch it high. For example, when he says, "Did I mention I study martial arts?" Like, and when he kicks the guy's ass, that was awesome. And then the scene with the bells, that's one of my favorite scenes in all of Turtles. You know, he's fucking... If you hear the bell, you're not in. Then Raph comes in and does it, and then he's holding all the bells, and he's like, "Is this enough?" That's awesome, dude.
Yeah, no, like he's a good character. I just don't know if he is a suitable replacement for Casey Jones. Here's something I wanted to talk about. This movie is a direct sequel to the first one.
Right, it's a year after.
Huh?
It's a year after the first one. Like,
not even timeline wise. It's not even a fucking year. Because remember,
really, I thought this movie was 1 year after the first movie.
Well, the movie came out a year later.
Yeah, but I thought it took place a year later, too. Okay, then maybe I'm wrong.
Well, that's okay. Okay, here's the thing. Mm-hmm. The way the characters talk, it sounds like they've been living with April for months.
No, you know what? You know what? Actually, you're right, because it would not make sense that Shredder still be alive after a... Yeah, you know what? It has to be like, what, a couple weeks?
Yeah, no, like the fucking opening scene, or the scene with the Foot Clan, like the first time we see them in the junkyard, like a dude walks up and says, like, "Is this everybody? Like, this must be everybody, but everyone else must have gotten arrested because everybody knew that the fallback spot was the junkyard."
Right. Yeah.
So, like this is implied that this is happening directly after the first movie. This is like a couple of days.
Right. I was thinking a week, but you're right. Maybe a few days. Yeah, that makes sense. And then Shredder's back.
Yeah. But
and then that scene where he goes, "His face!"
that you never get to see. But so something I wanted to bring up, though, is that this movie wants to be a direct sequel to the first film while having all these tonal changes. But also, there's so many things that don't line up with the first movie. Like, April's apartment. Where'd she get that apartment? Her apartment burned down in the first movie. She, lives in a completely different place. She has a completely different boss.
She has a completely different body and face. Let's not forget that.
Well, yeah, no. Like, swapping out actors is one thing. But I'm talking about, like the continuity of stuff. Like, her boss isn't the same guy from the first, not even the same actor. I mean, it's a different character.
It's like she has a new job.
But she's still at Channel 3, isn't she?
Right, she's still at Channel 3. You're right.
Yeah, like at the end of the first movie, it's like she got like this big promotion with her own special office and blah, blah, blah. And then like her boss that she actually had a goddamn relationship with, you know, like a storyline with, and like her boss who
Maybe
had his own character arc in that movie is just completely jettisoned for some weird big bald dickhead.
Maybe he quit. Maybe fucking the fact that his son almost became a foot soldier. Danny, damn it, Danny, come back here. Like maybe he just said.
I imagine you must have trauma from that one.
I didn't, but I have used that line in the past. You know, because I love that line where he runs and then fucking go. Play, have fun. Who, by the way, he's a complete. I mean, he's always been kind of a joke, but in this movie, he's a complete clown. You know, I Tatsu now lead, and then Shredder comes back, and you're not the leader anymore.
Yeah, no, pretty much. But yeah, no, there's just so many like little continuity things, like the fact that Casey Jones is just completely absent from the second movie. Even though it was established that like he and April started dating at the end of the first movie,
right?
So like literally,
no mention of him either.
All this shit's happening. Yeah, no, not even a fucking word about him. And I know why they replaced him. They wanted a young teenage character for kids to connect with. That's it. Because ignore the fact that the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles are teenagers themselves. We still need teenage characters for the kids to connect to. But yeah, no, like it just, like it's so weird how much this movie wants to be, like how much this movie really leans into being a direct, right after the first movie sequel, while also just completely ignoring anything that could be inconvenient, that could inconvenience a sequel. Like it's like, oh yeah, April, she has a brand new apartment. Ignore the fact that her place was burned down. She lives in a completely different place now, and she's been living there for a while, even though fucking Shredder has just dug himself out of the fucking trash, and the Turtles have apparently been living with her for a while, even though Shredder and the Foot Clan are just now reforming after the fight from the end of the last movie. Like, let's not bring up Casey Jones at all. Let's not bring up the dynamic April had with her boss. Like, all of that stuff just kind of like, whatever is inconvenient from the first movie for their sequel, they just completely fucking ignore. And it honestly bugs the shit out of me. I'm going to be honest.
It does because you wanted, because you're like me. Like now looking back, it actually bugs me even more because I've always wanted a real sequel to TMNT 90. Like even to this day, if somebody came out and said we're going to do a real sequel to TMNT 90, we're going to have animatronics. We're not using CGI. We're going to have it shot and resembling and looking like the original film. I would pop because that's what I wanted. You wanted like a real gritty sequel to the film. And actually, when you think about it, if they're going to form a trilogy, which they didn't have plans to at the time, the second film should in theory be darker. Because in the second film, that's when all the bad shit happens. In the third film, they get out. If they're going to do a trilogy. But in this case, they had no plan. I mean, so what do you think about, in your opinion, what are your thoughts on Professor Jordan Perry as a character? You know, David Warner, the bodyguard from Titanic.
I always remember him as, was he a Klingon in Undiscovered Country?
Yes, he was a Klingon, yes. No, I think he was a Klingon. Yeah, it was that movie. You're right. It was that movie with
Yeah, I think he was in two different Star Trek movies. I think he literally
5 and 6. Yeah, he was. But in 6, and he was actually in the Next Generation too. But what was awesome about him in 6 is he was with Christopher Plummer, bro, one of my favorite villains. Did I ever tell you that Star Trek 6 is my favorite Star Trek movie? Did I ever tell you that?
No, but it's my favorite as well.
Oh, I love you. I love you so
much.
Like
Undiscovered Country is like peak Star Trek for me.
Yes.
With
We Surrender.
What the fuck was
Chris Plummer, bro. Chang, bro.
Yeah.
Cry Havoc! I love that villain, bro. That's like one of my favorite villains. Dude, he's such a badass villain, bro, with his fucking Shakespeare obsession, bro. And I also like 4. 4, I like 4 too.
Yeah, I was going to say 4 is my other favorite. Like, it's kind of a toss-up depending on when you ask me. Like, I will flip-flop between those because, like, 1 to me is, like, the peak of, like, Star Trek, like you know, like the political Star Trek film, and the
Are you
other
talking about
one,
motion picture?
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually like that movie. I know I'm in the minority, but I know that the movie is slow. But once they get to V'ger, once they get to V'ger, shit gets good, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, honestly, like it's a very slow movie, but I really like I like my favorites are like 1, 4, and 6. Those are the ones.
Those are
I
also
like
my
most.
favorite. Yeah, 2 is good too. 2 is a good.
Which is weird because like so many people like have a boner for like the Wrath of Khan, and like the first time I had seen the Wrath of Khan, I had seen it without watching Starseed. Watched the Wrath of Khan.
You mean Space Seed?
Yeah, Space Seed.
Yeah.
And Starseed, I think, is actually from Sailor Moon.
Of course,
but
it is.
like I watched the Wrath of Khan. I was just like, okay, that was okay. And then I go back and I watched
Space
Seed. Because I had watched the entire first season of Original Trek, and then I bought the movie box set, and I was watching the movies, and I get to Wrath of Khan, and I'm like, yeah, no, like, it kind of makes me appreciate Wrath of Khan a bit more, but, like, It's still not my favorite. Like, everyone puts it on this pedestal as, like, the best Star Trek movie, and I can see why people like it, but it's... Yeah, no,
it's just good, but
yeah,
I
it's
agree
good.
with
It's
you.
definitely good. It just never clicked with me like it does everybody else.
It's very melodramatic, too, like, the acting. I mean, Ricardo Montalban, bro.
It's hammy as fuck. I like Ricardo Montalban chews that scenery. He's delightful.
I love it, bro. He's like buried alive. Like I love that actor. And let me tell you something right now. In Space Seed, that redhead, dude. Look, I'm just gonna tell you this. I rewatched the old Trek series around 2015, 2016. It was on Netflix. I don't believe in love at first sight, but when I saw that redhead in that movie, the one that runs off with Ricardo Montalban at the end of the film, you know who I'm talking about? The redhead in Space Seed? That is an attractive woman. And she had the big, like, 60s hair and the big titties. Like, you know what I'm talking, I don't know her name, bro, but you remember what I'm talking about?
I know exactly what you're talking about. I remember Space Seed fairly well.
She's fucking hot, bro. I mean...
Anyways. Yeah, in fact, like she's the wife of his that dies, that he wants revenge for. Yeah.
Right.
But anyhow, back to Ninja Turtles, though.
Yeah. Jordan Perry. We're talking about Jordan Perry.
Yeah, no, yeah. Okay, so Dr. Jordan Perry, like, he's a good character. Like, I like the way he's played by a really good character actor in general with David Warner. And... Like, I don't have too much to say about. Like, the only thing that kind of disappoints me is that I kind of wish him and Donatello played off of each other more, being like the super smart ones, because I feel like Ninja Turtles 2 was Donatello's real time to shine as like the intellectual of the group. You get hints of that in the first Ninja Turtle movie. Like, a lot of people will say like, oh, like Donatello wasn't the smart one in the movies, blah blah blah. It isn't until Ninja Turtles 3 that he's depicted as like the smart one of the group, and it's just like, no, in the third movie he techno babbles a bunch and I fucking hate it. In the first movie, you can tell he's got a lot of intellect to him. And it's just, he just doesn't have a lot of screen time, so he never really gets to show it a whole lot.
Yeah, the first movie was definitely Raph's movie. That's what Turtles 1. Turtles 2, I think, it does tend to lean more towards Donatello, but...
Yeah, it's more Donatello's movie than anything, but, like, it never really amounts to anything is the sad part, because it's like, he has a whole thing of, like, this is the secret of the ooze, like, we were born by accident, but, like, that never goes anywhere, like, it never... amounts to anything, and I don't know why that was a thing. Like, even honestly, like, the title of the movie doesn't even fucking make sense. The Secret of the Ooze. It was made in a lab. Like, there isn't, like honestly, had they gone with the original ending, the planned ending of the movie, The Secret of the Ooze would have been a really good title. Because, like, what's the Secret of the Ooze? It was made by fucking aliens.
Right, I wanted to get to that. Here in a minute about the secret ending because it involves Jordan Perry. But do you think it would have been better if instead of it being Jordan Perry, it was Baxter Stockman as a scientist? Just to have more of a tie-in.
I mean, they could have. I think if you do that, though, people would kind of expect him to be the Baxter Stockman.
Fly.
Yeah, the fly.
But with the ooze, they could do it with the ooze, right? I mean, for the third movie.
I mean, they could have. Like, because, I mean, at the end of the day, like, Jordan Perry was just meant to be, like I said, like, he was originally meant to be an Umtron. Like, he was supposed to be, like, the reveal that, like, inside of him, like, he was a robot suit the entire time, and then inside of him
he was not
an
human.
Umtron. And that was going to be the big plot twist ending of that movie. And that would have been fucking great. Like, it really sucks that we never got that ending. Apparently it was a budgetary thing. It's just like, oh no, that's going to cost way too much and blah, blah, blah. And they were trying to crank this movie out in a year, honestly.
Right.
Like this movie came out 1 year, a little less than 1 year after the first. And it wasn't greenlit until after the first movie was proven to be a box office success.
They pretty much rushed into it. Yeah, I mean, it was, yeah, I agree. And it's hard to rush into a film when you have, like, animatronics. I mean, these things take time to put together. Granted, they already had, they figured out how to do it, but, yeah, I think if they had taken more time, maybe they should have waited a year, but I don't know. I mean, you can't go back in time now. You know?
But, yeah, no, honestly, though, like, what you were talking about earlier, though, like, getting, like, a hypothetical sequel to Ninja Turtles 1, like, they go back and, like, they made a sequel to it. I would so fucking love that, because it's not like that hasn't been done before. Like we've had sequels to movies that just ignore previous installments. Like fucking Superman Returns is a sequel to the Christopher Reeves films that ignore 2 and 3.
No, they ignore. No, Superman Returns ignores 3 and 4. But that's
3 and 4. Sorry,
but that's how it's supposed to be, though. Superman Returns is supposed to be a sequel to 2, like an alternate timeline sequel. So that was meant to be like that. Yeah. This is different. This just ignores a lot of stuff. That's really cool. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And, like, it's not like we haven't had it. Like, we've had Terminator movies that ignore the sequels.
All the time.
Yeah, we almost got an Alien movie that ignored the sequels also.
Right. But, I mean, with this, I feel like, they were trying to go for continuity, like you said, but they wound up just blowing up in their faces. The Utron would have been a great ending, because then it would have led to, like, a more spacey third film. But we'll get to that when we get to talk about part 3. I want to talk about Vanilla Ice real quick. So, Vanilla Ice has to be the best rapper in history, and I'm going to tell you why. In this movie, he's up there in the club.
We've had this conversation. I'm looking forward to this.
We have, but not on podcast. This motherfucker sees the turtles fighting the Foot or whatever, and Toka and Razor, and the beat plays, and he manages to somehow come up with a song like that with a hook. He manages to come up with the lyrics right on the spot, and the dance moves, and on top, this is in universe, and on top of that, he's able to somehow sync with his backup dancers to know how to do the moves.
And he is able to intuit, just by seeing them, that they are, in fact, Ninja Turtles.
Yes, they are turtles that do karate moves. He didn't call them karate turtles or kung fu turtles. No, Ninja Turtles. It's... Again, when shit like that happens in this film, it's just like, all right, like, am I going to hate this, or am I just going to say, you know what? This is wacky. It's like the cartoon. Let's just go with it. And when I was younger, I did hate it for a while. But now, I honestly, Zion, I can't hate this movie. It's got problems, but it's just...
It's got a lot of charm.
It's wacky. It's so wacky. And, like, and I do have nostalgia for it. I mean, I'm not going to lie. I do have nostalgia. I had a poster. I had a Turtles 2 poster on my fucking door when I was a kid, and I wish I still fucking had it.
Oh, yeah. Like, God. Yeah, I never had a poster of Ninja Turtles 2, but like I said, like, I was a huge stan for the first movie more than anything. And,
me too.
Like Ninja Turtles 2, like, it's weird. Like, I actually watched Ninja Turtles 2 more as a kid because my VHS copy of 1 got broken. So, my VHS copies of 1 and 3 got broken as a kid. So I mostly watched 2 the most.
That might have
I didn't get them replaced until years later.
Well, now you've got the DVD, I'm assuming, so it doesn't even matter anymore.
Oh, yeah, no, I got the Blu-ray box set from forever ago.
Now, Super Shredder. Okay, played by Kevin Nash. First of all, I gotta say this. The Super Shredder design...
Dumb.
Oh, okay, so the design is incredible. Like, the way that he looks... With, like, first of all, I don't understand how the ooze can actually give you more claws on metal, but whatever. We're gonna go with it. It's
like, it's just the fact that, like, he's not, like, a bigger guy. It's just that, like...
His whole suit upgraded.
Yeah, it's so dumb.
It's dumb,
It's so
but
fucking dumb.
here's the crazy part about Super Shredder. In this movie, right, they fight him underneath that what do you call that? Like the wooden. Where do they fight him at? Underneath the little wooden
Underneath that pier, that dock.
The pier, the dock. Yeah. And then this dumbass is destroying like the pillars, and then he kills himself. So we have 2 movies in a row where Turtles can't beat the Shredder. Splinter did it in the first movie, and he did it to himself in the second one, and that pisses me off because they're sitting there like proud that they've survived, but they didn't do shit. They didn't even fight him. Like I was hoping for an actual fight. They, even if they lose, but. I will say this about Super Shredder. I love the design. I love the toy. And in the video games, he is a beast. In the video games, he's awesome. But in this movie, dude,
he's a complete
dumb.
Fucking nut wrecker in those goddamn games.
Dude, he could shoot fireballs at you and turn you into a turtle again and shit. He's fucking and freeze you and shit, bro. Anyways, so what were you gonna say about Super Shredder? Kevin Nash, bro. So, Diesel, bro. Diesel.
Like that ending is so fucking disappointing. Like, the fact that it's just, like, he was defeated by himself. It's just, like it's just, like, they don't fight him. They don't do anything. Like, at no point do they clash with them. They barely fight Toka and Razor. Like, I understand that they were trying to go for a more kid-friendly movie, but at least have, like, some kid-friendly action to go with it. And, like, the fact that there's just no fights with Super Shredder is just such a disappointment. Especially given, like, the fight from the first movie.
Right.
The Shredder fight
awesome.
from the first Ninja Turtle movie is one of my favorite one-sided fights in cinematic history. Because it's so well choreographed. It's so, like, the music is great. The fucking fight itself is great. Like, it's good. I fucking love it. Like,
I love it too.
So to follow that up with Shredder just punching some beams and then he crashes a pier on top of himself... What a limp dick fucking way to end your goddamn movie. And then you have...
Hey, he dies.
I made my fucking girlfriend watch that part because months ago we watched the first movie because I was like, baby, this is my favorite movie, blah, blah, blah. I really want you to see it. She didn't grow up in Ninja Turtles. She didn't give a shit. She really enjoyed the first movie. I was surprised. She really enjoyed the first movie. Then I was telling her about Ninja Turtles 2 and she was just like... That sounds horrible. So I popped the Blu-ray in, and I just jumped to the end. I jumped to, like, right before Vanilla Ice appears, and just let her watch, like, the last 15 or so minutes of that movie, and she's just like...
Didn't I see you guys on WrestleMania?
Like, I was just like,
Donuts! I'm sorry, I love that movie. I actually like that movie, but go ahead, sorry.
Yeah, no, it's just, like, just seeing the horrible disappointment in her face. Because, like I said, she went from having no real opinions of Ninja Turtles whatsoever to liking the first movie to seeing the ending of the second one and going, I never want to watch this movie. Like I told her, she's like, I'm never watching that movie.
There's some good stuff in this film that's entertaining. Did you show her the original season 1 episodes, the 87?
I have not.
Those are fucking good.
Yeah, no, those are good too. The only thing I've shown her so far was the first Ninja Turtle movie, the end of the sequel, and Batman versus Ninja Turtles.
I have that, and I haven't watched it yet. I swear.
That's how I got her to, like... That's kind of how I, like, lured her into watching some Ninja Turtles to begin with. I was just like, hey, let's watch Batman versus Ninja Turtles. And she's just like, I don't like Ninja Turtles. And I was just like, no, it's okay. It's a Batman movie. Yeah, and that's how I roped her in with that.
It's Batman. Oh, I don't like Turtles, but it's Batman. It works. So, yeah, Super Shredder was a big letdown, but it did create, Super Shredder, Toka, and Razor did create some new characters as video game bosses. Tatsu gets knocked out by the shells, and that's it. Huh?
I was going to say, like, this movie actually had kind of a lasting impact on the franchise.
Big time.
Because Toka and Razor showed up in the 87 series.
In the later seasons.
They showed up in later seasons of the show.
And weren't they very different? Weren't they, like, good guys and they were, like, comedic? Like, there was no time with these Toka and Razors.
Yeah, no. They were very different characters. I think they were just, like, zoo animals that got mutated or some shit. I don't fucking remember. Like, but they're only in, like, one episode, so it doesn't matter. But they are, like, buddies, and they're not, like, brain dead like they were in the like they were in the original movie and the
Secret of
second
Ooze,
movie.
Yeah.
But yeah, but Toka and Razor have continued to show up in things and be reinvented. They were hella reinvented in the 2012 cartoon. I think they were also in the IDW comics. But yeah, they've continued to have an impact. And then Super Shredder himself, that is a concept that has been used again. It showed up in video games. It showed up. Super Shredder showed up in the 2012 cartoon. So these things have continued to have an impact on the franchise, which I think is pretty neat.
In 2011, when CM Punk was feuding with Kevin Nash, and on Raw he goes, "Hey, Super Shredder, I popped, bro. That popped me. That popped."
I never saw that. That's pretty great.
Oh, it was awesome. He referenced Super Shredder. Yeah, but Kevin Nash ate him up in fucking promos. Kevin Nash said, "Look at you. You look like a shorter cook at the Waffle House." He killed him with that line, dude. He fucking... Oh, that was one of my favorite back and forth promo exchanges because they were both doing really well. But anyways, okay. So Turtles 2, there's a lot of fun stuff in this movie. Again, I don't hate this film.
Yeah.
I hate what the movie represents because it is Turtles selling out, but it's just... It's so wacky. I mean, they bust out into a dance sequence. I could understand somebody who says, "I hate this movie," or "I don't like this movie," but I personally, I try to find enjoyment out of it. I actually enjoy watching this way more than I do Batman and Robin, another movie that's kind of campy and wacky, but I think this one's way more entertaining. And there's actually a story here, even though it's not that great of a story.
I would actually disagree. I think I like Batman and Robin more, but I actually enjoy the campy elements of that movie. I feel like that
me
movie
too, but I think
more...
I like this one better.
Yeah, because for me, Batman and Robin is it's so stylish and it's so over the top and it's so quotable. That movie is just wall to wall memorable quotes, and from beginning to end. So I kind of enjoy that one more. But yeah, Ninja Turtles 2 is fine. It is a perfectly fine kids movie. It's just the only bad thing I have to say about it is that it's a sequel to the first movie.
It doesn't hold up. It just doesn't hold up. It doesn't. It can't. I mean, there are the bad things. There is some stupid shit in the movie, but if you look at it like a live action cartoon, then it's not so bad. Now, Turtles 3, we got some problems, but we'll talk about that next time. I wanted to ask you, do you have anything to plug? Because I know that you're kind of taking a break from YouTube. So
right now, no, I have nothing to plug. Ask me again in a few months. I will have something to plug. But right now, no.
Really? You will?
Yes, I'll be coming back soon. Like I said, a few more months. Like I said, January is when I plan on coming back with content.
But that's the worst month to come. That's the worst month to come back. Because CPMs are down. Come back in December instead. You make more money.
It'll be fine. I'm not going to make that much money regardless in the beginning, so it's fine. Like I said, I'm doing a full fucking relaunch. I literally rebooted myself into a female protagonist. Okay,
you did do that. Yes, you did.
So yeah, January is my relaunch. Yes, I know CPMs are at their absolute worst, but I still plan on going that route.
Well, I will say this, because of COVID, that may change this year, because if more movie theaters start opening up and more films start coming out, maybe January will be better. I mean, you never know. I know.
Maybe. Who knows?
My January this year was better than my summer, even though that's because of COVID. I mean, summer was still okay. I mean, I'm just very humbled and blessed to still have a job, because we were all pretty scared there for a bit. But either way, okay. Well, that's fine then. Then we'll just plug this. Next week, Xeon returns to talk about Turtles 3, the final installment of the trilogy, which isn't really a trilogy because they doesn't really go together. But we got problems. That movie's got problems.
Yeah, no, I fucking hate it. I'm ready to rip that bitch apart.
All right, we'll talk to y'all next week. See you then.